and the sun shines overhead. I don't wanna be there in your city. I don't know the words. Oh, ooh.
Your facial expression
What
right now
is this
killing
book?
me. All right, welcome back, everybody, to By Its Cover, a podcast where we pick out books by their covers, read them,
Consume them,
and talk about them.
Yep.
I'm Katie.
I'm Jake.
That's Jake. And today we're going to be talking about a book called Everything My Mother Taught Me by Alice Hoffman.
Y'all better be prepared because y'all
Right.
about to get learnt.
That's sure. Yep. So why did we pick this book, Jake?
Okay, so if you don't know, By Its Cover has a Patreon where you can support us for $5 measly a month.
Heck yeah.
You can feel better about the laughs you get by paying for them. There's not really any other benefit.
Not yet.
Not yet. We'll open up more tiers, I'm sure. This is a very insanely...
Organized.
It's insanely popular with our listeners.
Oh, yeah.
Everyone
Spreading across the world.
Everyone supports us on Patreon, which is great. But our one Patreon said, read this book.
I love you said it's insanely popular. And then our one Patreon.
You like that?
Yes.
Yes. That's just who I am.
Yep.
Said, read this book. And we said, okay.
Yeah, we got it in our email inbox, which, you can send us an email. Let us know how much you love this show or send us a book as well.
Hosts of By Its Cover at gmail.com.
That's right.
Yep.
That's us.
And by the way, a special request after this episode, please email us something that your mother taught you.
Yes.
Yep.
So, what did you think this book was going to be about, Jake?
Everything that this person's mother taught them.
Did you think it was going to be positive or negative?
Well, I'm an optimist. So obviously I thought this is going to be a 1.5 hour long audiobook about all the positive things that this person's mother taught them.
Psych.
What did you think? Did you think it was positive or negative?
I also thought that that's what it was going to be.
Positive.
This, I figured that somebody's mother had passed away and that this was a nonfiction, 1.5 hour long book about the wonderful things that their mother taught them. Mm-hmm. When we started listening to this book, we were actually in the car together, and it took me a hot minute to realize that it was fiction.
Okay.
Okay, because I was still in that mindset of this is a nonfiction story about someone who loved their mother and their mother passed away, and this is what their mother taught them.
Yeah.
Yeah, it wasn't that.
What was it?
Well, it was a fiction story.
About what?
About a girl in the early 1900s who is basically abused by her mother, or neglected and abused. I think her father is a sailor or a fisherman or something to do with the sea. Do you remember what he does?
He something to do with the sea, but he got black lung.
Okay.
So I think it was probably in the engine room shoveling coal for a water vessel.
Okay.
Right. He died young.
Yeah. So when he dies, she decides that she's going to go mute. She's not going to talk anymore. She hates her mother. Her mother she describes her as narcissistic and only thinking of herself and mean and whatever. And her mother moves them. She has to find a job, so she moves them to this little tiny island where she has accepted a job basically as a whatever they need, cook, clean, that kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. And it's a very small island. It's for a lighthouse, I think, and there's handful of people who live there.
Yeah, so the people that live there are all taking care of the lighthouse. They're all lighthouse keepers in some way. Right. And her mom is the maid.
Right.
For everyone else.
Yep.
Yeah.
So she goes there and she, expects to be miserable, but she actually really likes some of the people that live there. There's the girl, the woman Julia, who cares for the house. Does she care for the chickens? There's something about... Oh, I remember the thing about the chicken. Never mind.
Ominous.
Ominous.
Foreshadowing.
Yes, we'll get there, listeners.
Yep.
So yeah, she actually like has a couple friends there maybe, but she's still mute, still doesn't talk. And her mom, like, you know, even on the boat over is just immediately like flirtatious. And, you know, I think that the main character, Adeline, kind of resents that, right?
And her dad just died.
Just died, yep.
Yep. And her mom doesn't seem to care.
Right. Yeah.
Yep.
That's what it came across as.
Mm-hmm.
And then her mom, I think, she's still mean to her. She tries to, some of the things that she has to do at her job, she gets Adeline to do. And it comes down to having to kill a chicken for dinner. And Adeline's like, I'm not, just not doing this. And she's rescued by Julia, who then becomes kind of her friend, I think. And Julia's like, to her mother, like, this is your job, you have to do these things, kind of thing, which I thought was nice.
Mm-hmm.
But her mother develops a very sexual relationship with Julia's husband. And they keep a book of all of their thoughts. Like, they go back and forth writing to each other, and it's dirty, and it's like, not only is it dirty, but it's also like dirty in the sense that it's gossip and hatred towards the other people in the town and how stupid they are, and like it's just mean.
Gross.
Yeah, it was gross.
These are two gross people writing gross words in a gross book.
Yep. And Adeline knows about it. Should I skip forward to the? I mean, is there anything to talk about how shitty it was?
No, it was shitty.
It was shitty.
Her mom's shitty.
Yeah. Overall, her mom's shitty.
So, I mean, not to like give the plot away, but this is not what Katie and I expected to be. An hour and a half of hearing wonderful things about how this person's mother taught them some great, wonderful life lessons. Now, these are still great, wonderful life lessons.
Right.
But it's not warm and fuzzy.
No, it was not warm and fuzzy, and it was hilarious when we started this book. I was like, oh.
Yep.
My God. But we appreciate our Patreons so much.
Yeah.
And, send us a book recommendation, and we will read it.
Sometimes.
Probably.
Probably not from this one again. This Patreon, anyway, let's keep going with the story.
You've lost your privilege.
You've lost your privilege. Do better.
Do better. So, we didn't even talk about the cover.
Unsurprisingly, because Adeline is living on an island, it's a picture of birds and a beach.
Yeah, okay. Rocky Beach.
Rocky Beach.
Yep.
Probably the island where the lighthouse is that she is staying on.
That would be predictable.
That would be predictable.
Okay, so things just, go this way. She's miserable. She doesn't want to tell Julia about the whole thing, but at some point she feels that she has to. And so she shows Julia the book. And Julia, she just comes up with a plan, basically, to get off the island, get out of a situation, rescue Julia from her shitty husband.
Well, kind of. What happens before that?
Oh, I forgot about that part. Okay, go ahead.
So Julia confronts her husband.
Yep.
And Julia's husband does what every husband in the late 1800s does, which is start beating their wives. Mm-hmm. And so she was abused physically by the husband.
Yep.
And so Julia and Adeline start to plot how to get them off the island. Mm-hmm. And Julia has a son. And how to get him off the island as well.
Yep.
Yeah, and they come up with some plot, which Katie will tell you.
Yeah, so they fake Julia's death.
Dun, dun, dun. Suicide.
They fake her suicide, and her husband immediately gets remarried to Adeline's mother, and it's all pretty gross. And then Adeline has kind of hidden the book. The dirty, gross book. And she, at the perfect opportunity, basically reveals the book, allows the book to be found by the other people in the town.
No, it was a reporter.
Fuck, I forgot about that.
Yeah,
See?
so after Julia's death, my memory is much better than Katie's.
Yeah, for real.
I'm like an elephant. I remember literally
Can we just go back to the point where I'm like, yeah, they fake her death.
So
and then what happens?
We're not going to cut this part out about
we are.
how amazing my memory is.
Okay, sure.
Sure. So in Jake's amazing perfect memory, which we'll talk about in depth, Jake's memory is so great that he remembers all the details of this book, despite having listened to it at the exact same time as Katie. It's incredible how amazing this memory of
Your
his
memory is so good.
It's just, people all around the world just want a memory like this. Some might say it's the best memory anyone can have.
Oh, Jesus. You're starting to sound like somebody in the fucking media. Let's move on.
I might be missing a piece of my ear. So, what happens is Julia's death gets in the paper.
Yep.
And it's unsurprising because they live on an island, and the way that she died was that her clothes were next to the ocean, and so they thought, oh, she just swam in the ocean, died of exposure, and some whale ate her or something, right? So...
Yeah, a whale.
A whale. Like a killer whale. Whales have teeth.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah,
some of them.
Yep. So, is a killer whale... No, that's a porpoise. Killer whales are porpoises, right?
No, killer whales are orcas.
Orcas.
Well, it is technically, I think, a type of porpoise. I'm not positive.
We're off track. Where were we? Oh, so my great memory. Anyway.
Great memory.
Yeah.
Short attention
span. Which is why I'm reverting back to picture books. Anyway, so this reporter comes to the island, sort of a nobody, trying to just make a story for the newspaper. Finds finds Adeline.
Yeah.
Finds that she's mute. Adeline shows him the book because of a guilty conscience.
Yeah.
And the reporter decides, oh shit, this person's not dead.
Yeah.
This person is alive. Finds the person, finds Julia and her son. Says, okay, these people are still alive.
Yeah.
And that sets off this cascading set of events.
Right.
Which is just amazing.
It was great. I was really worried that it was going to go with, like, she's going to murder her mother.
Yes.
I really thought that was what was going to happen, was murder.
Nope.
But nope.
What happens is, do you want to tell it? Or I could do it. Do you want to do it?
You do it.
Okay. So, in my perfect memory, what happens is, and Adeline didn't expect this. Adeline just showed the book. She didn't know what the consequences were going to be. But because Julia was alive, Julia's husband is now a polygamist, which is against the rules. So Julia's husband goes and spends 3 years in prison. And because he leaves the island and leaves Adeline's mom alone...
Yeah.
I don't remember Adeline's mom's name.
Everybody turns against her.
Everyone turns against her, and she's fired.
Yep.
Because she's unlawfully wedded to a non-widower.
Yeah.
And so...
Who beat his wife and cheated on his wife.
He doesn't go to prison for beating his wife, because that's legal in the 1800s. Of course
not.
Right?
Yeah.
Property and stuff.
Ugh.
So,
Don't
Adeline and her mom have to leave the island. Because Adeline's mom no longer has a job there. So Adeline's mom leaves the island, goes and finds another job, and they make it to the train station. And I think somewhere before they leave the island, a letter is handed to Adeline that says, if you can make it here, you can live with me. And it's from Julia.
Yay.
Right? Which is so cute, right?
So good.
And so they make it to the train station. Adeline's mom's being a bee. And Adeline says, forget this shit, and runs off.
Yeah.
And Adeline's mom is all like, oh, why are you running away? Stupid, you're dumb, you're good for nothing. And Adeline keeps running. Right. Adeline finds Julia, and they live happily ever after.
It was great.
It was great.
Yeah, I really liked the plot twist on that a lot. How long did it take? Did you know going into this book that this was going to be fiction?
No.
Me neither.
I genuinely thought this was going to be bulleted points. 1, my mother taught me how to wipe my ass. 2, my mother taught me how to make macaroni and cheese. 3, my mother taught me to read.
Yeah.
It wasn't that.
No, it was not.
Nope.
It took me... I'm trying to remember where in the book I realized it was fiction.
I think it was like 20 minutes in.
It was far in.
Yeah, we were listening to this book, and we were both like, holy shit, this is not
what we expected.
Yeah. And not a book that we would typically read.
Right.
Which is part of the beauty of picking books out by their cover.
Right.
Except in this case, we were told to read it, and we regret listening to that. Not because the book itself was bad, but because it's just not our style.
It's not our style. The end, I did like the plot twist a lot.
Totally.
I
Feel
think
good.
that I could have appreciated it more from the beginning if I had known it was fiction going in. Like at the beginning, I was just like, oh, this is really, really like dry, hard to listen to hatred of a very mean person in your life, which I can totally have empathy for, but I don't really want to listen to it. Turned out it was fiction. I think I would have appreciated it more at the beginning if I knew that it was a fiction story.
Yeah, like if only the cover said
Fiction.
fiction.
If only we had looked at the cover. We had to look at the cover right before this.
Yep.
Because, our Patreon subscriber looked at the cover.
We're really dragging this person through the mud.
Yeah, we are.
Yeah.
We love them, though. We really, really appreciate you.
Become a Patreon subscriber, and we might drag you through the mud, too. Don't you want that opportunity? Send us a book. If we hate it, we're going to drag you through the mud.
I think when we were listening to it, I actually looked at I think at some point in the car, I was like, oh, this is fiction. Like, I looked. And that's when we knew it was fiction.
I was driving, so I had both of my eyes. I was peeping on the road, both of my hands, 10 and 2.
Great.
Right? Both of my feet, one on the brake, one on the gas, ready for
just
whatever
how you're
situation.
Supposed to do it, yep. What was your favorite part of this book? Do you have one?
Yes. One of my least favorite parts of Harry Potter is how Harry never finds justice. Right? All of his teachers are mean to him and everything, right? And he never finds any justice except for a couple of places of respite and a couple of teachers that listen to him that end up being evil and dying anyway, right?
Yeah.
So I have a hard time with Harry Potter because he just never finds justice. But Adeline found justice very quickly.
Yeah.
With the chicken. And I think that when Julia scolded Adeline's mom for not killing the chicken and making her daughter do it, which I think Adeline was like 12 or something. Right?
Yeah, she's like 12 or 13.
Which is totally a fine age to kill chickens, but it's not her job.
Right.
And she's never done it before. I was like, yep, this is great. Julia's a great character. This is not going to be Harry Potter. I'm going to get some justice, right? I'm going to feel justice for this character that I'm invested in. What about you?
The plot twist.
Ooh, yeah.
Yeah, I really liked Julia. I liked the chicken part. It was very memorable. But I also really, really liked that it didn't turn into a murder story. Which, again, like, as we were listening to it, and I still thought it was nonfiction, I was like, there's no way this is going to turn into a murder story. Otherwise, this author would be in jail because they're admitting to murdering their mother or something. My brain was like set on that this is nonfiction.
I poked a hole in the boat and she didn't swim enough, and so therefore I'm not a killer. I'm a manslaughterer.
Yeah, Once I realized it was fiction, it just changed the whole book for me. So I guess I could have gotten behind a murder story that was fictionalized, but I thought I really liked that the adults listened to her. Yeah, listen is she didn't talk.
Heard her,
yeah. Because so often, we know that children who are abused, they come forward with their stories and they're not believed by the adults.
They're believed 100% of the time. Justice for children.
I guess that was my favorite part, that she was taken seriously. Yeah.
Yeah.
That was cool. It did probably help to have the evidence of the book.
She could have plagiarized it.
Right.
But the reporter believed it.
Right. Yeah, I think that was my favorite part.
Cool.
Yeah.
What are we consuming next?
Okay. So I have a couple things to tell our listeners, actually.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Plot twist, just like this book.
Okay, so there was a book I was supposed to read that one of our listeners said, Katie, I cannot believe that you've not read this book. What's wrong with you? I know you would love this book. Yep. So I rented it. I waited several weeks for it to show up in my feed. And then my loan expired. And I didn't read it yet. So sorry, listener. I put it back on hold. And maybe one of these days I will read it. That was one of the things. I am really bad about that. I, like you, also rented a book that was referenced in Fairy Tale. Or, like, the book itself wasn't referenced in Fairy Tale, but Gog Magog was, and so I rented a book called Gog Magog. So, listener, here's a list of things that might be coming up, but we don't really know.
Well, let's start. 1, the future.
The future. Yep. That's still on our list.
I'm very close to finishing it.
Almost done with it. I already read it.
Cool.
So that is a possibility. Silent Sister by Megan. I should have read her name before.
Oh, no.
Oh, yes. Megan
The Stallion?
Davidazar. Davidazar?
Pretty close.
Davidazar. I'm going with that. The House Where Death Lives by the author is written too small for me to see. Alex Brown. It's a compilation of short stories, so it's got multiple authors. And Monsterious, Trapped in the Horror Dome by Matt McMahon. Matt. Did I say Mac? Matt McMahon.
I have no idea what you said.
And there's also this book here that I got from the bookstore that Jake said does not count as picking it by its cover.
It's the opposite.
Okay.
Describe this cover.
Okay, so I went to Jake's favorite bookstore, Sam & Berry Books.
Yep.
And it is wrapped in paper, like brown paper. Mm-hmm. I was going to say cardboard because it's the color of cardboard, that color brown.
It's a blind date with a book.
It's a blind date with a book. And so you can't read the cover or anything, and this is what I read that's written on the front by the book owner. It says, an epic novel covering decades of climate change and humanity's blind eyes to the changes. The book follows multiple characters, all with different relationships to and interests in the pending environmental collapse. It says, read for complex and profound epics and climate change commentary. And I asked the owner of the bookstore, is this possibly Venomous Lumpsucker? And she said no. And I said, okay, I haven't read. The other one I'm thinking that it could be is maybe The Future. And she said, nope, it's not that either. And I said, okay, I'll buy it. So I thought I'd maybe unwrap it.
Let's do it.
Here, and maybe I'll read it.
Special audio-only experience.
That's right.
Y'all. If your ears are tingling, you might like ASMR.
It also says, it does not say on the front whether it's fiction or nonfiction. So we'll find out. Okay, so this book is the Deluge. Deluge. D-E-L-U-G-E. Deluge. A novel by Stephen Markley, national best-selling author of Ohio. It's got a picture of clouds.
It's got a rip in it.
It does have a rip in it. These are used books.
Oh wait, is that a... No, it's a rip in the cover.
Is it intentional?
It's intentional.
But you can feel it.
Yeah, it's embossed.
That's cool. Still don't know whether it's fiction or non-fiction.
Well, don't read anything about it.
I'm not gonna read anything about it. I'm just gonna.
Now you have to read it.
And then there's also what is that book called over there?
Somebody's Daughter.
Oh, Make Your Own Rules.
Oh, Make Your Own Rules.
Somebody's Daughter. That would be a heavy one to read on this. Yeah, there's basically a big pile of books that I haven't been reading.
Yeah, I've got maybe 20 books I need to get through. I just keep buying them.
So, listener, the next story may be one of like 50 book options that we have.
Sounds good.
Yep.
Looking forward to it.
Me too. Is that it today?
That's it today.
All right.
Bye.
Guess I'll see you later. Bye. What the fuck? What's wrong with us?
Nothing. We're perfect.
I love it. Bye.